Welcome to The Lift with Sheila Robinson Kiss. Come on in. There's always a special place set aside for you here where you can relax, kick up your heels, pour yourself a nice, refreshing drink, and prepare to be lifted and soar. Welcome back. So nice to have you here for this mega relationship series, renegotiating all of your relationships. This first video is number 1 in a series of 7. And for today, we're just going to be exploring a topic we rarely talk about. We whine about it, but we don't talk about it. And it's getting your needs met. You know, many times you will read a book or you'll hear someone talk about relationships and you get up from the table feeling like, I'm not fully satisfied. I just feel like something is missing. And this can happen because the individual may not know how to fill in the gaps of information that are really required to deal with this tough topic, or they're afraid to go into the dark, dingy corners, and it's necessary to visit those places to add the kind of clarity that you need to take your life and your relationships to the next level. I am not afraid to go into those dark, dingy places, and I'm going to hold your hand as we do so together. You know, I've said it before and I will say it again. If you've watched these videos, you've heard me say, this is not a hobby for me. This is my life's work, culmination of 20 years of research into the topic of human relationships and human functioning. So I bring this to you from my heart and from my soul, and my work is rooted and based in a promise that I made to God some years ago after He lifted up my life circumstances. So I want you to tell your friends, your family about this series. There's information here that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. So here we go with part 1. And again, the focus is on getting your needs met and renegotiating all of your relationships. We're not just going to talk about your marriage or your romantic partnerships. I'm going to be including your friends, your family, your co-workers. Throw in your hairdresser if you'd like to. We're really going to leave no stone unturned. In school, no one ever teaches us about this art of negotiation in relationships. So most of us end up, essentially taking what we can get and hope for the best. And I'll be straight up with you. If you're happy with what you have in terms of your relationship, great, God bless you. If you're not and you're looking for more, or you want to take it to a new level and maybe just aren't exactly sure how to go about it, you're in the right spot. Because if you want more and you don't know how to get it, you're either left to fight tooth and nail for what you want or simply walk away in frustration. The alternative is negotiation. And the first step in negotiating is knowing what you have to work with. Folks, it requires a knowledge of self, which is something we rarely stop and do, is check in with ourselves because we're so busy and sometimes so out of sort. It just seems like abstract pie in the sky thing to do. But I want you to start at this primary starting place, which is first knowing who you are and what you bring to the table in order to supply someone else's needs, and knowing what you ultimately need from someone else. And we're going to do this in a very targeted homework assignment that I'll give you momentarily. Now, 20 years ago, I had absolutely no idea what my needs were. And I'm not talking about your basic food, shelter, clothing, water. That's not what I'm going for here. I'm talking about specifically relationship needs. I knew that I wanted to meet someone, and I knew that I wanted to be happy, but that really only scratches the surface. And if that's all you're working with, you really leave yourself wide open for a great deal of frustration. If you have not stopped to really check in with yourself and ask, what makes me tick? What do I really need? And furthermore, what do I truly have to offer someone else? It's like being the owner of a high-tech, gorgeous machine and never once reading the owner's manual. Then you invite someone into your life and they start pressing buttons on this machine, start replacing parts, and you're at a loss. You don't know what's happening because you don't know the first thing about your machine, what it can do, what it wants to do, what you would like for it. So that's really what this first installation of the program is about. Your first assignment, okay, and after you complete the assignment, I'm going to meet you back here in 48 hours. Your first assignment is to clarify what your relationship needs are. Now, needs are very, very different than relationship preferences. We're talking about two different things. Let me give you this little analogy, okay? Say you go into a gorgeous 5-star restaurant and you have your heart set on steak. And your waiter comes out and says, I'm sorry, we're out of steak. Would you like to try something else? And you look at the menu and you say, you know, I never had lobster before, but I'd like to try it. And they bring you out the lobster and you absolutely fall in love with it. You see, the steak was just a preference. It wasn't something you needed. So when you think about needs, I want you to consider the elements in a relationship that if you don't have them, if they're not present inside of your relationship, your functioning will suffer. Your functioning as an individual and the relationship functioning will suffer. So there's 3 essential questions that I'd like you to consider as you create your list of relationship needs. I'd like you to consider, is my need reasonable? Number 1. Number 2, is my need rooted in health? And number 3, can I reciprocate in terms of what I'm asking for and getting this need met? Let's start with number 1. If your need is reasonable, that means that any other reasonably minded person would say, you know what, that makes sense in terms of a relationship need. Now, I knew a gentleman, he had the need, he stated it was a need. I want my wife to meet me at the door in full face makeup, high heels, looking beautiful, ready to go for dinner, you know, all this when I come home from work. Okay, nice in the realm of fantasy, but the only issue was there were 3 small children there, all under 7 years old. So in what parallel universe is this going to be easy for someone to fulfill for you? It's not going to happen. Try again. It's just not a reasonable need. Maybe 1 or 2 days a week, but 7 days a week, 5 days a week, you're out of range. Number 2 is the need rooted in health. I worked with a woman who stated her need as, I have the need for someone to care for me, to take care of me. And when the words take care didn't just mean emotionally, it really meant financially, emotionally, housing, all the above. The fact of the matter is she stated this as a need. And this had caused her to be involved in four different marriages. She was a basket case by the end of the 4th, because although she stated it as a need, what she really needed was to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. So her need was not rooted in health. I love the feeling of being tended to. Some may say it's a feeling of being taken care of, but it is not a need. It's just wonderful to just be able to kick your heels up and have someone else to figure things out for a moment in time. But again, it's not a need. One relationship need that I do have, and I've learned over the years, is I do have the need for warmth and affection in my relationships. And I've had relationships where there was not that warmth and affection there, and they all went belly up because I constantly felt like I was being starved out. And I was. So the need for warmth and affection is a healthy need because it's really rooted in my core belief that the affection and the warmth serves as something of a glue and bonds a relationship. So again, we want to distinguish, is the need rooted? Is it rooted in health? And lastly, can I reciprocate? I don't think any of us have any business asking someone to do something for us that we're not willing to do for them, or for that matter, for ourselves. So can you reciprocate the need? Now, let me give you some examples of needs that I've heard people list over the years during therapy and different other exercises. Different people have need for cleanliness, financial stability. I have the need that the individual is drug free. I have the need that the people in my life have strong family values, a love of education, respect, a sense of humor, kind-hearted, sexually compatible, open communication. So your first assignment, and you have to understand that needs change over time. You're doing this assignment in the here and now. We're not talking about your relationships 20 years ago, 2 years ago, or 5 years ago. We're doing this assignment from the here and now. I want you to make a comprehensive list. I'd like you to include, if you are in a significant relationship with a love match, include that person. You can make a column for your friends. You can make a column for your family members and for your co-workers. And underneath that, those headings, I'd like you to really take some time and think about, what are my relationship needs? The things that I need inside these relationships, or it's not going to function. I'm going to suffer from impaired functioning, so is the relationship. I want you to take your time, be thoughtful about it, and you'll meet me back here in 24 to 48 hours after that assignment is complete. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.